One of the most unsettling truths in this story is how racism never announces itself outright. Lenora Whitfield never uses slurs. She never says she hates black people. Instead, she wraps her prejudice in the language of authority.
HOA roulette.
Neighborhood, safety, property values, suspicion. These words sound neutral, reasonable even, but in this context, they become weapons. Lenora believes her position as HOA president gives her moral permission to decide who belongs and who doesn't. Her confidence doesn't come from evidence. It comes from power. She assumes Ariel is trespassing not because of facts, but because Ariel disrupts her mental image of who deserves wealth, privacy, and peace. When she says, "People like you don't buy cars like that," she exposes the truth beneath the mask. Authority didn't create the racism, it hid it. The story mirrors real-life patterns where institutional roles are used to justify discrimination. HOAs, neighborhood watches, zoning boards, and even police calls have often been used to enforce racial boundaries without openly acknowledging race. The danger lies in how socially acceptable this behavior can appear. Lenora likely sees herself as a responsible citizen, not a bigot. That self-image makes her more dangerous, not less. What the story makes clear is this: racism doesn't need hatred to function. It needs confidence, systems, and silence. Authority gives prejudice credibility, and once that credibility exists, violence can follow. Ryder and Jax feel empowered to physically approach Ariel because Lenora has already framed Ariel as a criminal. Authority lights the fuse. Muscle pulls the trigger, by exposing Lenora's HOA logs. The story dismantles the illusion. Authority without accountability is just domination in nicer clothes. And when that authority is challenged by truth, witnesses, and records, it collapses fast, because it was never legitimate to begin with. Perhaps the most painful presence in the story is not Lenora or the Cole brothers, but the neighbors. They are everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Watching, pausing, slowing lawnmowers, holding grocery bags mid-step. They see the danger escalating, and yet they choose stillness over intervention. This silence is not accidental. It's learned. People are conditioned to believe that staying out of it is safer, more polite, less risky. But the story makes a powerful argument. Silence is not neutral. Silence takes sides. Every neighbor who watches without speaking silently agrees that Ariel is alone, and that Lenora's behavior is acceptable enough to ignore. The presence of witnesses without action intensifies the threat. Ariel isn't just being confronted by 3 aggressors. She's being surrounded by a community that refuses to acknowledge her humanity. That collective quiet creates psychological isolation, a tactic as damaging as physical force. Tells the victim, "You are on your own." What changes everything isn't bravery at first. It's visibility. Phones come out.
Cameras roll.
Suddenly, silence breaks not through words, but through recording. That shift exposes the truth. People knew this could turn ugly. They just didn't want to be involved until it was undeniable. The story doesn't let the neighbors off the hook. Even the apology at the end, "I should have spoken up," comes with the understanding that regret doesn't erase harm. Ariel's response, "Next time," is gentle but firm. It places responsibility where it belongs, on the bystanders. The message is clear and uncomfortable. In moments of injustice, there are no spectators, only participants. Silence doesn't prevent conflict. It enables it. And until communities learn that speaking up is safer than staying quiet, stories like this will keep repeating. Every act of violence in this story begins with an assumption. Not a fact, not proof, an assumption. Lenora assumes Ariel doesn't own the house. Ryder assumes she doesn't own the car. Jax assumes she's lying. None of them ask questions in good faith because their minds are already made up. These assumptions are rooted in stereotypes that have long associated blackness with criminality, deception, and illegitimacy. The story shows how quickly these ideas escalate. What starts as suspicion turns into accusation. Accusation turns into entitlement. Entitlement turns into physical force. Bias doesn't stay theoretical, it becomes kinetic. The most chilling moment is when Lenora says, "People like you don't buy cars like that." That sentence compresses generations of racial prejudice into a single assumption. It doesn't matter what Ariel says or shows. In Lenora's mind, Ariel's existence contradicts her worldview, and therefore Ariel must be wrong. The Cole brothers act on these assumptions without hesitation. They don't see Ariel as a homeowner defending her space. They see a problem to be handled. The story highlights how assumptions strip people of individuality. Ariel is no longer a woman with a name. She becomes a symbol of threat. What makes assumptions especially dangerous is how invisible they are to the people holding them. Lenora doesn't think she's guessing. She thinks she knows that false certainty fuels confidence, and confidence fuels aggression. The story dismantles this by revealing reality piece by piece. The deed, the car, the badge, the service record. Each truth collapses an assumption. By the end, the aggressors aren't exposed as villains because they were cruel, they're exposed because they were wrong. And in the real world, being wrong while holding power can destroy lives. Ariel Knox never raises her voice. She doesn't insult, threaten, or posture. Her strength is quiet, disciplined, and controlled. And that's exactly why it unsettles her attackers. They expect fear, apology, or aggression. What they get instead is stillness. The story deliberately contrasts Ariel's calm with their noise. Lenora shouts. Ryder laughs aggressively. Jax cracks his knuckles. These are performances of dominance, meant to intimidate. Ariel's silence disrupts that performance. It forces them to fill the space with their own insecurity. This portrayal challenges a common narrative that strength must look loud or violent. Ariel's power comes from preparation and self-mastery. Her military background isn't used to glorify violence. It explains restraint. She doesn't strike first. She warns. She reacts only when physically grabbed. And once the threat is neutralized, she stops. That restraint is critical. It prevents the aggressors from reframing her as the villain. She understands the rules of survival in hostile spaces. Control the moment, not your ego. Her discipline contrasts sharply with the chaos caused by unchecked confidence and entitlement. The story also subverts stereotypes about who is dangerous. Ariel is physically capable, trained, and lethal if necessary, but she is not reckless. Meanwhile, the men claiming to protect the neighborhood are the ones escalating toward violence. Strength, the story suggests, is not about intimidation. It's about control. Be why the time authority figures arrive. Ariel doesn't need to explain herself emotionally. Her composure speaks for her. Strength here is not about winning a fight. It's about surviving it without losing yourself. And that kind of strength doesn't need applause. It just needs space to exist. The turning point in the story isn't Ariel's physical defense. It's accountability. Cameras, records, witnesses. Once these elements appear, the power structure flips almost instantly. Lenora's confidence evaporates. The Cole brothers shrink. Authority no longer protects them, it examines them. For years, Lenora's behavior thrived in private.
Hòa lóc hai đầng.
Complaints buried. Police calls exaggerated. The system worked because it wasn't being watched. The moment the story introduces documentation, the incident logs, the badge, the federal presence, the illusion collapses. Accountability doesn't just expose individual actions, it reveals patterns. The HOA records show that Ariel wasn't an exception. She was the latest target in a long history of harassment. That's what transforms this from a misunderstanding into a civil rights issue. Patterns remove plausible deniability. The story makes an important distinction. Justice doesn't arrive because Ariel is special. It arrives because evidence exists. That's both empowering and sobering. It means truth alone isn't enough. It must be visible, recorded, and acknowledged. Lenora's downfall isn't dramatic because she's arrested. It's dramatic because her authority is stripped of legitimacy. The same systems she weaponized now scrutinize her. Accountability turns power inward, forcing it to answer for itself. This point resonates deeply in real-world contexts, where marginalized people are often disbelieved until proof is overwhelming. The story doesn't pretend that accountability is automatic. It shows how fragile justice can be, and how necessary witnesses are in the end. Accountability doesn't just punish wrongdoing. It restores balance. It validates the victim, And it sends a message that power without responsibility will eventually collapse under its own weight. The final message of the story lingers long after the sirens fade. Surviving a place doesn't mean you belong there. Ariel didn't move into the neighborhood to make a statement. She wanted rest, quiet, a home, but her mere presence was treated as disruption. This highlights a painful truth many marginalized people understand deeply. You can afford the house, you can follow every rule, you can mind your business, and still you may never be seen as belonging. Survival becomes the baseline expectation, not comfort, not acceptance. Ariel's choice to stay is powerful precisely because it's not triumphant. She doesn't reclaim the neighborhood with speeches or celebrations. She drinks coffee on her porch. She waves back. She exists. That quiet persistence is resistance. The offer to relocate somewhere safer reveals the underlying problem. Safety is conditional. Peace is negotiable. The burden is placed on the victim to move, adapt, or disappear. Ariel rejects that logic. Fear only wins when you leave isn't bravado, it's clarity. Belonging, the story argues, isn't granted by deeds or badges. It's granted by communities willing to confront their own biases. Until then, survival is all many people are allowed. Ariel staying forces the neighborhood to change, not her. The closing image, kids riding bikes, neighbors waving, feels hopeful but cautious. Healing isn't instant, trust is slow, but space has been claimed. The story ends not with victory, but with resolve. Ariel didn't survive war zones to fear her own home, and that truth reframes the entire narrative. Belonging isn't asking permission. Sometimes it's standing your ground and refusing to disappear.